In the quiet village of Oakhaven, where the mist clung to the rooftops like a soft blanket, Jonah prepared for a journey he never sought. A creeping shadow had begun to swallow the edges of the world, and even the humblest guardians were called to stand against it. Jonah was not a man of swords or sorcery, but a man of the earth, yet duty whispered his name. Before he stepped onto the road, Mila took his hand. She did not give him a relic of power or a blade of silver. Instead, she slipped a plain iron band onto his finger. She then pressed a small, weathered leather pouch into his palm. Inside was a single scrap of parchment. Jonah unrolled the parchment. The ink was faint, but the words were clear. Faith grows, even when unseen. He looked at Mila, searching for a deeper secret, but she only smiled. Let this be your anchor when the storms are too loud, she whispered. With a heavy heart and a light pack, Jonah turned toward the darkening horizon. On the road to the great bastion, Jonah met Xylan, a rune-shielded warrior in shining armor. Xylan spoke of grand prophecies and the magnificent spells the high mages would use to shatter the shadow. Jonah felt very small in his woolen cloak. The war was not a clash of steel but a tempest of magic. In the valley below the Gossiping Oaks, Jonah watched as the high mages cast pillars of white fire into the sky. But the shadow was like a rising tide. It did not break, it simply absorbed the light. Xylan stood at the edge of the camp, his runes flickering and fading as his confidence began to wane. The grand magics are failing, Xylan cried as a sudden ambush of shadow wraiths forced them into the thick, gnarled depths of the Gossiping Oaks. The mages panicked, their bright spells illuminating nothing but the terrifying density of the fog. They were lost, trapped in a forest that seemed to shift its trees to hem them in. While the others looked for a clearing or waited for a sign from the heavens, Jonah knelt in the dirt. He closed his eyes and remembered the parchment. Faith grows, even when unseen. He stopped listening to the roars of the wind and started listening for the small things, the trickle of water under the roots, the way the moss grew thicker on the side of the oldest stones. Through the gloom, Jonah saw it, a trail of tiny, white flowers that bloomed only in the dark, their petals pointing the way toward the hidden river. It was a narrow, humble path, often overlooked. This way, Jonah said, his voice quiet but certain. Xylan followed, his heavy boots treading carefully behind Jonah. The warrior watched in wonder as the humble guardian led them through the impossible maze of the Gossiping Oaks. Jonah didn't use a compass or a spell. He simply moved with the patience of a gardener, trusting the small signs that the earth provided. They emerged from the woods behind the shadow's flank, finding the source of the corruption, a place where the earth had simply forgotten how to breathe. Jonah did not strike it with a sword. He reached into his pouch, took a handful of seeds from home, and planted them in the cold soil. He whispered the promise. Faith grows. The shadow faded slowly, like a breaking fever. When the war ended, there were no statues built for Jonah, and no songs were sung of his great deeds in the halls of kings. He simply walked back to Oakhaven. Mila was waiting at the gate, her smile exactly as he had left it. Jonah lived the rest of his days not as a hero of legend, but as a mentor to the restless. He sat beneath the village willow, teaching the children that grand gestures are often brittle. The greatest magic, he would say, showing them the simple iron band, is the courage to make small, steady decisions every day.